Hey, this is Ellie. I'm going to be bringing you a Templar Healer PvP build video. I have found that this particular build does work pretty well in PvE, Dungeons, and Dragonstar Arena. However, if you're going to be running trials, you're going to need a little bit more of a different setup. But a lot of people have been asking me what I run, what my stats are, what type of champ points that I use, so I'm going to go over that. I put 60 attribute points in Magicka and 4 in Stamina. Now most people will put one or the other into everything. I do not run a max Magicka build only because I am healing and I need a little bit more regen, a little bit more stamina because I'm blocking, and most of the time I'm targeted pretty hard. If you're going to want to run a mostly damage build, you're going to want all of your attributes into Magicka. However, my max Magicka is 30k on one bar, 29, almost 30k on the other. Now the reason it is so low is because I do not run max food. I run the Frothgar drink. My max health is 28k. My max stamina is 11.7. My spell damage buffed is 3k. My spell critical is 38. My resistance is 14,000. Critical resistance is 2,600. My recovery is 2,034 for Magicka. That is the reason why some of my other stats are so low. And I'll be going over the champ points with you for that. My Magicka, or my health recovery, rather, is... My health recovery is only 204. Simply because I am a vampire, stage 4. Being a Templar, I do not need as much health recovery as some other builds would need. You have Breath of Life, and it is still the best heal in the game. Stamina recovery is low, 663, but I normally don't have too much of a problem with stamina unless I'm being overwhelmed by 5-6 players. No. My physical resistance, 9,232. And the reason some of these stats are so low is because I am in 5 light, 1 medium, 1 heavy for the Undaunted. Like I said, I'm a stage 4 vampire. You will receive some more damage when it comes to fire and siege and things like that. But being a Templar, you can purge, you can heal, and there's some champ points that I've set up that counted this a little bit. My boon is the Atronach. On this particular build, I am running 2-piece Falcon Scoria in pen, and it's golded out, has max Magicka stat. On my armor, I do run 2 tri-stat glyphs just so I have that extra stamina. I run Julianos. If you find that Julianos are lacking in the maximum Magicka or spell damage, you can always use Kagernek's Hope. Kagernek's Hope is located in the Fighters Guild. You have to finish the main quest. It is 8 traits, and it allows your Templar to res faster, because with a Templar res, you're able to revive somebody along with all of their stats, their health, their stamina, and their Magicka. So, coupled with the Cyrodiil passives, you can res somebody extremely fast. I do run 3-piece willpower jewelry still. There are a couple other better sets out there, but I find that the willpower rings still work for this particular build. I have all spell damage. I do have healthy and robust jewelry in my inventory, so when I find that I need a little bit more spell power, I switch out all to arcane my max magicka goes up over 30,000. But as of right now, I need a little bit more health with this particular meta. So I run 2 healthy and an arcane. I run dual wield, Torag's Pact for the extra spell damage, sharpened, damage glyphs. I do use the master staffs instead of the Maelstrom Arena staffs. Master staffs are located in the Dragon Star Arena veteran version. The destructive touch abilities allow me to do 3 stuns, or 3 CCs, a stun, a knockback, and it also allows me to do damage. The Master Inferno Staff increases my spell resistance for over 5,000. It reduces the cost of the abilities that I'm using for destructive touch, and it also adds over 1,000 max magicka. When I'm in larger groups and I don't need to do as much damage and they need more healing, I use the Master Restoration Staff instead of the Veteran Maelstrom Arena, because the first tick of my Grand Healing abilities, which is your Healing Springs, it will restore stamina to my group along with health, and it adds max magicka. This particular staff is powered and increases my healing done by 7%. You can also do higher crit or sharpened, it all depends on what you feel you are lacking in that particular department. Now, the way my bars are set up. On my front bar, I have Breath of Life, Entropy, Puncturing Sweeps, Repentance, or Toppling Charge. Toppling Charge is always pretty buggy. It doesn't always work. And sometimes it's hard not having a gap closer on my bar. That's what I use the Destructive Touch for. I also use Luminous Shards instead of the opposite morph, simply because it restores magicka and stamina to players that pick up the shards. It also disorients instead of hard CCs, so there's no CC immunity to another player, but it will continue to disorient and make them drop their block. Super trolly. I also run Bats, Devouring Swarm, which is the damage morph, or Shooting Star. Now, sometimes in place of Structured Entropy, I do run Radiant Mage Light, especially if I'm running the Imperial City Sewers, because Nightblades are pretty pesky. It pulls them out of stealth. It still gives me Minor Prophecy. It still gives me Spell Critical. So these are the 2 that I swap out. Now, Open World, I do prefer Structured Entropy. Restoration Staff, when I'm running that. Healing Springs. Destruction Staff, I use Destructive Reach, simply because it has the knockback, immobilize, and a stun. I'm trying out the Destruction ultimate ability. So far, it's been alright. You can move out of it, but it is a ground AoE. So when it's cast, it seems to work well so far. I haven't gotten the morph yet to try it out. Now, if I'm in a large group, my ultimate will change. I'll normally run Repentance on the back bar. This I only use in case of emergency, and I do animation cancel it after my group's health bars are steady. I don't want to be targeted with the animation. It looks like she's praying and her hands go up in the air, and you simply stick out like a sore thumb. On the front bar, I use Reviving Barrier, and that's when I'm in groups of 6 or less normally. If you run Barrier in larger groups, it doesn't hit everybody that it's supposed to hit. Now on to champ points. Starting with the green tree, 38 in Magician, it reduces my cost. 24 in Mooncalf, 87 in Arcanist, it gives me my Magicka recovery, and 3 in Healthy, just because I like that little bit of health recovery because it is so low due to my vampire. And 17 into Tumbling, because I do need to roll dodge every once in a while or break free. Onto the blue tree. This is the most important tree. Now, because I run Julianos and I have a little higher crit healing than a lot of other builds, I have 36 in Blessed. I would suggest 36 to 40 in Blessed. 32 into Elfborn. 81 Elemental Expert, 2 in Spell Erosion. I also have 36 in Thermitage because I do apply a lot of dots. Your biting jabs are also a dot, so it's better to have that little bit of extra damage. 41 in Ironclad, because there's lots of snares in this particular patch. Disorients, stuns, and lots of Night Blades that will snipe you from stealth, and it's easier to break free from that. 5 in Spell Shield, 53 in Resistant, 43 in Hardy, 35 Elemental Defender, 10 in Thick Skinned. So they're pretty basic when it comes to Magicka use of the champion points tree. So I would suggest using those particular sections, moving the champ points where you see fit. If you find you need more stamina, you need to pay a little bit more attention to the green tree. If you need a little bit more healing, pay attention to the blue tree. Now I'm going to go on to passives. I do have all of my Cyrodiil passives open in Assault and Support. I have all of my Undaunted passives, my Mage Guild passives, I have my Fighters Guild passives open. Slayer for increased weapon damage, just so that my heavy and light attacks will do a little bit more damage. It's not much, but if you have the extra skill points, it's definitely worth it. All of my vampire passives are open. They're too good not to have in this patch. You also don't have to have an ultimate slotted like the werewolf to receive these passives. I use Elusive Mist, Invigorating Drain, and Devouring Swarm. I have all of my racial passives open, of course. I am a high elf, so I receive more Magicka recovery, increased Magicka, and I have increased damage. So if you're going to go for damage as well, the Altmer is the way to go because it has a little bit more of a burst. I have all of my alchemy abilities open. It allows your potions to last longer, and the passives are really great for that, especially when you're using a ton of potions in PvP. If you're going to go for a little bit more damage, I suggest using Solar Disturbance if you do not have Meteor or Bats or a weapon's ultimate ability. This one stuns when somebody synergizes it, and it slows down their movements. I would use Vampire's Bane and Dark Flare. With a lot of the heavy armor stamina builds, it's very hard sometimes to get through the Vigor and Rally heals. So if you debuff, gives you a better chance to do a little bit more damage. You're debuffing, and a lot of stamina users simply don't use a purge, or they're not in group with somebody who's purging. They forget to synergize any type of cleansing ritual around them. Radiant Oppression. I do not use the healing morph of this. I use more damage as an execute. Now, if you read the tooltip, targets below 50% health take up to 330% additional damage. It says 50% health, but with the Vigor and Rally heals and the spell shield, or the shields that people use, the healing wards, it is easier to execute between 20 and 30% instead of 50%. Even though the tooltip says 50%, it doesn't always work out that way. Now the Restoring Light. I use Breath of Life because it heals myself as well as other targets. The other morph, Honor the Dead, only heals one target at a time. Sometimes you need a heal and you're trying to spam that and it's going to somebody else who has lower health than you. You can't heal if you're dead, so if you're a healer, Breath of Life is something that I would highly recommend. Repentance in a group play is almost a must if another Templar in your group is not running it. I run Repentance because it restores your stamina, it does healing, it gives you fortitude, minor endurance, minor intellect. It's just something that you should really have on your bar. It also increases your health, stamina, and magicka recovery. I use Extended Ritual instead of the damage morph. It removes harmful effects from other people and yourself. All harmful effects from you, 5 from other people. They can synergize this and also receive over 6,000 additional healing. So if you're stacking your healing springs, your extended rituals, all your hots, along with Breath of Life as your burst heal. If you're in a smaller man setting, you may need to adjust your skills accordingly. Now I use Restoring Focus if I am in heavy armor. I do not always have that on my bar, simply because I don't have enough room. There's some other skills that I need to survive. So as far as your gameplay goes, if you find yourself lacking in restoration, you may want to put Restoring Focus on your bar. You may have to take something else off, like a drain or one of the utility abilities. If you have any questions, just post them in the comments down below and I'll try to answer them as best I can. I hope this helps and good luck.